In today's video, guys, I want to talk about some of the most underrated characters in the entire game. I'm talking about some of the SSRs, some of the SR units that are absolutely game-changing. Too many people are focusing on the strongest LD units. Too many people are ignoring some of these super powerful units and end up in not building them or building them pretty damn late, when in fact they can use them much earlier and basically boost their progression. Maybe some of you guys did it as well, or some of you might do it in the future. Let's start with some of the SSR units. Then we're going to go down to some of the SR units that are actually really effective. Now, I feel like one of the main things in Etheria Restart, guys, is the fact that we are barely getting any resources to build the characters. Now, if you actually stay to think about it in the long run, it's not necessarily the biggest issue as long as you are building the right units at the right moment. It is much easier to get units in Etheria Restart comparing it with other games that are allowing you to build the units much easier, but it's much harder to get the units in those games, right? So I guess all of the games tend to have pros and cons, right? But one of the units that is extremely powerful and everybody kind of like took a dump on her is actually Dokyoki, right? I remember in the beta, everybody was saying Dokyoki sucks. She's not really going to be good to progress in the game. She's not really great in endgame in any particular content. She's just not that great in general. Well, she's extremely underestimated. There are tons of teams just popping out every single day using Dokyoki. And that's mainly because she is actually offering you something super important. Starting with the freaking thermometer boost, the data stream buff as well, which can enhance the damage, can purify debuffs, and overall increase your stats, right? So this is a very powerful skill. Now, one of the main issues with the skill is that you cannot target each ally individually, right? She's gonna do it to one ally, then she's going to randomly select the next one that has the lowest amount of either thermometer, either the cooldown, the cooldowns of the skills, right? But that is with the other skill. So this is a very powerful skill, regardless if we're talking about PvP or PvE. She's actually a weapon of freaking mass destruction in PvP. Build her right. Too many people are constantly focusing on Lily everywhere. PvP, PvE. To me, Lily is literally just a bait in PvP, for example. Like, I would pick her if I can just to force the opponent to ban her. Because literally, 99% of the opponents will always ban Lily. Regardless of what other characters you're bringing in, everybody's so focused on Lily that they completely ignore everything else. So with this skill, basically you're going to decrease the cooldowns of the skills. And this is a very good one as well. Plus, it will apply more data stream too. So if we're talking about dungeon teams, regardless of what dungeon, or if we're talking about PvP, or if we're talking about the other game modes, she is going to be extremely helpful. Definitely do not sleep on Dokyoki. Now, would I go and instantly throw all of my lattice into her? No, really. She can actually do a pretty good job without the lattice. Of course, every single one of these units in the entire game will work better with lattice. There's absolutely, literally no exception. Every single one of them will perform better with lattice. But because it's so freaking rare, you do have to be selective. And Dokyoki can get the job done without it. You can use even a codex shell on her. You can give her a time whiff set, plus some swift, or for PvP, give her some immunity and speed and get the job done. She will boost the thermometer so much that you're instantly going to cut in front of the enemy. That's why it's actually so damn good. Plus, the buff as well. Moving on to the next unit, and this is one of the units that I remember lots of people saying, do not build her, she sucks, don't build her, just build Biontine instead. Sukiomi. Sukiomi is just so freaking powerful, guys, not just for PvE. You can look at her in a way or another, kind of like a budget Lily, even though I feel like that is a title that makes her feel even more underestimated, because she is a very powerful unit. Not only that she's going to decrease the cooldowns of the skills for shells and for your characters, and apply silence if you give her accuracy, which is definitely really, really solid. Regardless if we're talking about Dokyoki, regardless if we're talking about different dungeons where you might have the potential to control the minions, or if we're talking about PvP. But this skill right here, this skill is just so freaking crazy. Build her with the highest speed in your team, guys, for PvP, and you're absolutely going to take a shit, pardon my French, on your opponent, okay? Giving so much turn meter to one of your allies, and usually the damage dealer, the one that has the highest attack, right? Increase attack and the speed will literally just make Sukiomi go first, or once the opponent takes a turn, if you offer an immunity, push into your Messiah or a different damage dealer that is capable to wreck the enemies, and just literally wipe them before anyone else needs to take a turn. That's how crazy your Tsukiyomi is. And she's so, so powerful. If we're talking about Aurora, if we're talking about Doki, if we're talking about some of the shell dungeons as well, she's just an absolute freaking beast. Yes, it's absolutely fine to use her without the lattice. Now, will it be better with it? Of course. 4-turn cooldown rather than a 5-turn cooldown is much, much better, and higher chances to get pretty much everything done. But overall, she's just such a freaking powerful unit. I don't know why so many people are sleeping on her. Like, I'm using mine in PvP so freaking often, and usually she is the fastest, right? Now, one of the main things is basically working on the first skill to get that additional speed, which kind of sucks that they've locked the speed on their first skill, but getting that up and running is actually massive. Now, true, she does not have the highest base speed in the game, 122. Lily does have 127, which will allow you to build her faster, but everybody bans her, right? Why not run Tsukiyomi and absolutely dump on your enemies just by using one freaking skill? Crazy, crazy powerful PvP and PvE. If you have her, don't wait too long to build her, because she's going to be a massive carry through progression, through endgame, through pretty much everything, right? Then, the next unit that I want to talk about is Mia. I remember everybody saying, please don't let me pull Mia. I don't want to summon a Mia. Mia sucks. Mia's the worst. I don't want to summon Mia. Oh my god, I've just pulled a Mia. I'm gonna reroll. I mean, come on, dude. Mia, she's absolutely fantastic. And I'm talking about her support. If we're talking about dungeons, especially Terror Maton, if we're talking about some shell bosses as well, she's just so freaking good. Having the ability to dispel buff from the targets, push back the turn meter, right? And give you healing as well, extending the duration of buffs. I mean, what else you want? And decreasing the cooldowns of skills. Like, she's just such a freaking amazing character. I don't have her, and honestly, I would really love to get her because she's absolutely fantastic in a lot of content. Yes, she might not be the best support for PvP or anything like that, but in terms of PvE, she's actually a very, very good unit. And once again, a lot of people completely ignore her. They don't build her. Why? Because so many people said she's trash. That's why I never, ever do tier lists in a game when the game is just releasing, because it's just going to be skewed information. It's just literally going to be a video that will not really make sense, or it won't really have any good information, because most of it will be false information because people did not actually play the characters. So that's why I do not tend to do tier lists at the very beginning, unless I have been playing the game for quite a while, where I have a very good feeling of how the units actually feel and where they're good, etc. But Mia, she is definitely one of those super underestimated characters in Etheria Restart. Enough with the SSRs. Let's quickly talk a bit about some of the SR units that are really underestimated. Kachi the God was one of them, right? And I underestimated Kachi the God too, because I haven't really paid that much attention to the skill set and the potential of being the most powerful immunity character in the game, right? But I'm not going to talk about Kachi the God, because that's definitely not an underestimated unit anymore, right? But if we're talking about characters like Rin the Unbowed, actually really, really good for PvP. Once again, she has a very, very good base speed, which enables you to make this unit pretty fast. It is as well an SR unit, much easier to skill. And having this AoE skill with increased speed, and for every one speed she has, increases the final damage, which is pretty good. But then she has this skill that brings in decreased speed. So this is actually really, really good too. If you go first, you apply the decreased speed, do a bit of damage. You're not going to one-shot them, okay? Don't get me wrong. But you will probably drop 40-50% of their HP. And then you just bring in the cleanup crew and take the enemies down. So she is a pretty good unit as well. Truth be told, it is more on the niche side, but a lot of people are running Arena Unbound in PvP. Definitely not a character worth sleeping on, especially seeing what a good base speed she has, right? Then, if we're talking about RC77, another monster, look at the base speed, 128, actually higher than Lily's. You're probably seeing him all the time in that trash event that they're doing where you gotta gamble on which team is winning and stuff. By the way, I freaking hate that event, but he is just such a freaking monster. So you have this skill that has a chance to stun, attack down, and defense down. Now, by bringing attack down on your enemies, most likely you're going to survive. Not only that, you're basically going to do a big hit on Revelation, but you're going to do a big hit on his actual skill, right? Reducing their attack. Defense down will enable you to bring in the cleaning crew in there, and stunning one of the biggest threats on the enemy team. You might not be able to stun, for example, Lily. Maybe she's on immunity, or you might not be able to stun a Mio or a different unit. But if you can stun their DPS while the rest are still controlling a bit your team, that still gives you the edge and enables you to win that freaking fight. Now, he is a very good unit for PvE content as well because of the decreased attack and defense down too. Stun-wise, yes, it goes on a single target, but the rest will go AoE, which is really, really good. Then you have Thermometer Manipulation, has a chance to extend all the debuffs on the targets, which is actually pretty damn good, and he can gain increased accuracy with a basic skill. A very, very solid unit too. And in a way or another, it's good that these underestimated units exist in the game, because a lot of people will completely ignore them in PvP and get their ass whooped, which is good for the people that do not underestimate these units and they're using them as their main freaking weapons of mass destruction, right? So RC77 really good as well. One of the other units that is not as underestimated anymore, I still haven't built Kazami Kazuyo, but he's an amazing, amazing unit. And a lot of you guys might not be building her for whatever reason. But I feel like in many situations, in many teams, she's going to perform much, much better than Lily. So I am planning to build her for my Aurora team, for some of my Shell Dungeon teams, and I'll explain you why. Not only that she gives you the increased speed, but she reduces the Animus's and Shell's cooldown by 1 turn. Now, Lily can do that job on one character, okay? Which is great on your damage dealer to go back to back. But that means that if you're not killing the boss with those 2 hits, you have a pretty high chance to lose the fight as well. There's so much RNG with some of these bosses, right? And Kazami bringing in that cooldown decrease on all of your characters, okay, is massive, because it means that every single unit in your team, regardless if he's a supporter that needs to heal, regardless if he's another debuffer that needs to land a decreased speed or defense down, or a different unit that just needs to bring in dot damage or something else, all of them will be able to rotate their skills much faster. When you're using Lily, only one unit can do that, right? So that's why I think that she can be much better than Lily in some of the teams, okay? And that's why I'm planning to build her. And she can actually basically dispel buffs from the target and can increase the cooldown skills on the Animuses, which is actually really, really good. Plus, it's much easier to build as an SR. Then the final unit, guys, is actually Yang. Now, it's not a unit that will replace some of the SSRs if you have them available, but if you don't, or if you are tired of constantly swapping gear left and right with all of the different teams that you have built, he can definitely be a pretty good unit too, because he brings you the increased attack and increased crit rate on a skill, which is actually pretty damn good. It will enable you to build your units with less crit. Now, of course, if you have a Biontine or different characters, you can just build your character with full crit rate and you're gonna get crit damage and increase attack from there. But if you don't, Yang is actually a pretty good unit and he's free. You can pick him from the chest. And with this skill, deals damage to a single enemy. When he lands a critical hit, increases all allies' turn meter by 10%. And when the doggy lands one, he has a chance to dispel a buff. So overall, a very solid SR unit as well. But I feel like out of all of them that I've just named, it's probably the least important. The other ones, I think they definitely have way more potential and way more utility all around. He is easier to replace, in my opinion. But that was all for this video, guys. I'm sure that every single one of us, we underestimated at least one unit in the game. Right now, we have Nahor that recently got released. I feel like a lot of us really overestimated him rather than underestimated him. But as soon as that happened, a lot of people really dumped on him hard. And they continue to underestimate him and call him trash all around. I still don't think that he is trash. I do agree that I overestimated him, thinking that he's going to be way more OP. But one of the main things was my error in realizing that a lot of the minions in dungeons are immune to crowd control debuffs, except Taunt usually, right? So that is my error. I feel like a lot of people probably made the same mistake. But I still think that he is just so freaking OP in a lot of other content. That is not the thresholds. And from my point of view, the thresholds are not everything in the game, right? We have all of these trial challenges where I think he is one of the best champions to use. On the Infinity Train, he's absolutely crazy. And I feel like when we're going to have the Cage Rumble and the other game mode, the Dreamweaver or whatever the heck was called, I forgot the name for it, I think he can be really, really good in there too. As I've mentioned, that was all for this video. Let me know in the comments down below which one is the character that you underestimated the most and turned out to be one of the most impactful character on your account. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.